All right, I hope this is coming through live. I'll just double check it's working on my other computer, or I can keep an eye on all the comments coming through, guys. And Bitcoin has just had another little breakdown, and it really does look like it wants to go lower. So I'm going to share this around on social media. Share this in your crypto groups, guys. And then we'll get into it. We'll take a few requests if anyone's got any coins they want us to check out, and hopefully we get a bit of a bounce or a bit of life as we look like we're about to head down again. We might even get a live trade on, as I'm currently in that FTX Battle Royale, and it's a bit of fun. A couple of days left in round 2, so it's only a few $100 play money in your sub account on FTX, and yeah, we might get to have a trade together live if we get a sell-off here with high leverage, trying to hit a home run. It's that sort of trading environment at the moment, where it's the short-term trading, you have to ramp up that leverage 100 times or 50 times leverage in these trading competitions. It's very different to the normal style of trading that you'd prefer to do with swing trading and whatnot. So, what does everyone think? Is Bitcoin about to head down and make some fresh new lows? And I'm going to let you know the levels I'm looking at in just a second. Alrighty, that is shared around, and I hope everyone can hear me nice and clearly. If you can, please hit that like button, guys. And it's good to see lots of people rolling in. So, good evening, Daniel, David, Sebastian. We are dumping indeed. Cardano's new partnership with New Balance. Yeah, we did cover that a little while ago, Gene, last week or two. It's good to see them getting some real world partnerships. That's what it's all about. Okay, so one thing I just want to point out really quickly, for those of you that have just joined us, the market has dumped pretty hard about 2 hours ago, and as I pointed out here, it was almost to the minute. So a week ago on the 11th of October, we had this big dump, a bit of a pump into it, and then a big dump, pretty high volume. And this time of day is right in the middle of the night for a lot of those US traders. And I'm not sure exactly, I think it's getting towards lunchtime in Europe. But either way, it's when a lot of the world is asleep. The majority of the action tends to happen overnight in Australia when the rest of the world is awake and trading. And then again today, 7 days later, it's also a Friday. You know, the Friday night trading session tends to be very volatile heading into the weekend as the futures close. And almost to the minute, we had a dump. So if we zoom a bit closer, we can see what happened shorter term time frame. But yeah, the whales, I have no doubt that they do play these games. So throughout the day today, you'll see we did sort of wander higher a little bit, and then this smack down. So I shared this chart in a couple of groups I'm in just before, and someone was saying nice trend lines. They don't really look like they make sense when you're zoomed in. So zooming out, this is the main pattern that we've been looking at. Very similar to this larger pattern, this sort of pennant that we were in and then we broke down out of. And then recently we've been forming a pennant again. So, 1, 2, 3. We had a couple more touches recently. And again down here, a few touches holding a support. A little bounce here, but it just hasn't been convincing volume. The bulls just aren't showing up here. Look at the green bars. The red bars are not only larger, but the dumps were getting hit a lot hard. So what does that tell us? That overall, there are more people selling than buying still at this point. So I tend to use BitMEX to get a good idea of what the majority of traders are doing with my volume. But you guys know that I like to use Binance to keep an eye on the volume that's going on there. And then Coinbase, and you get a feel for what the sort of different types of traders versus investors versus, say, US investors, how they're all playing the market. So as we speak now, we've had another dump down. We're sort of wandering along, and these these big dumps tend to have little pennants or flags before another leg lower. Now, once again, this has been on pretty low volume. So if you remember back in 2017, when every dip got bought really aggressively, and even the 40% corrections when China banned crypto and they banned exchanges and mining and the Bitcoin Cash hard forks, all those things that resulted in 40% corrections, they all ended in these big dumps and then V-shaped recoveries with big wicks, where you kind of had a gut feeling straight away. And for those of you who've been long-term subscribers to the channel, you'll remember, you can go back and rewatch these videos live, when you can call the bottom quite confidently once you get that first big dip, that first big bounce and huge volume coming in, and you say, okay, look, that's clear to me that the buyers are stepping in really aggressively, whereas we haven't really seen that yet. So a lot of the smarter money that is looking to get into the space has been accumulating quietly, a bit more behind the scenes, OTC desks. So it's getting harder and harder to look at the on-chain data and the TA to confidently know what's going on. But that's why we do a lot more research with other things, off-chain data, sentiment analysis, and that to paint a picture of what's going on. But what I think caused the dump just now, as well as technical analysis playing out, I did think the other day, as soon as we saw a couple of bits of news, that this wasn't going to be good. So the first bit of news was the G7. They've been looking into this for a while, the FAFTA regulations and having to know details about sender and receiver's address. But when we had these criminals and it became public that they'd been using Bitcoin for this sort of stuff on the dark web, it's not nice to talk about. And one of my predictions last year was that we would start to see headlines like this. Now, whether or not they're exaggerated, we know that the mainstream regulators are going to pick on this sort of stuff. They're not going to tell you that this gets done, every day with cash and other methods of payment, and it's been going on for years. They're going to bring this sort of activity into the spotlight and make it look like, it's the only thing that Bitcoin is used for. So yes, I do think that definitely doesn't paint Bitcoin in a good light, does it, when the mainstream are talking about these sort of headlines? And then obviously the FAFTA task force looking to roll all this stuff out, and people are saying that slowly they're sort of eroding and changing what crypto is, but really they're still only playing at the edges. So once you're in any sort of cryptocurrency ecosystem, there's decentralized exchanges and you can get your privacy back. So it is really only the exchanges that they're cracking down on, and only in certain regulations. So there's still plenty of exchanges where you don't have to do full KYC or any KYC. I know FTX, that I've been trading on a lot recently, also removed KYC, and you can have a limit of $2,000 a day withdrawal without having to KYC. So look, this is my trading account at the moment. It's $200 to enter this if you're interested, guys. So I'm looking at the moment to trade possibly a bounce. I was shorting Bitcoin SV this morning. But yeah, I think if we have another leg down lower, that would be possibly an ideal entry for a more aggressive bounce. So zooming out, we can see that there's a little bit of divergence starting to show up. So let's just get out this trend line, and we can see if price continues to trend lower in this downwards direction, what we want to see on the RSI and our other momentum indicator that we've been having a play around with lately, is that is trending up. So momentum can be starting to move up, even though price is still moving down. So it's those sort of divergences that we can look for to give us hints that the sellers are running out of steam. So let's just zoom back in and keep an eye on what's going on here. But Ethereum did just have another leg lower. So bang, that was a nasty dump. So that ends up being down 3.5%. We'll work our way down this list. The altcoin index down 3.5% now. So some of the larger caps didn't have that bigger moves initially, But as we see now, Litecoin, XRP, Bitcoin Cash, a lot of these coins have made fresh lows. So alts are bleeding fairly hard. I know QSIM had that hard fork recently, but even some of these coins that have been stronger have really been smashed in this last move down. Binance and XRP have probably really been leaders in the last week or two. So let's just keep an eye on this. I'll take a few questions and comments and read through that. But let's keep an eye on this and see if we read it and roll over and have one more leg down. I'd love, either grinding out a bottom, but we still need the bulls to show up. Grinding out a bit of a bottom here, but for all intents and purposes, there's still no reason for the longer term investors that wait for an uptrend to step into Bitcoin with that bit of negative news at the moment as well. So value investors, I do believe, are looking for any level, in the sevens, or if we get down here, this 7.2, that's where a lot of people are waiting. We know that there's a little bit of previous trading volume that's taken place there. And the final thing I'll show you before I read through all your questions and comments, let's just get out our Fibonacci tool from where we bottomed around 150. We can see that right here, that 61.8% retracement is right on that 7250 in this zone here. So I think there'd be a lot of buyers looking to step in if we have another leg down in the coming hours, even the coming days. That would get us oversold on the daily RSI with that divergence, with these levels. 61.8% retracement is still perfectly normal in a bull market. And even if we were to pull back to here, 5,500, it's still an uptrend on the the monthly time frame in a longer term bull market. So yes, it has got pretty hairy all of a sudden after we were very excited and everything was looking positive. Bitcoin still has surprises up its sleeve for us, but I will take a few of these questions or comments. So if you can smash that like button, guys, it is much appreciated. Do whales sit in Tether? Absolutely. So we see Tether volumes growing substantially. So that China-Russia corridor, Tether moving to Ethereum lately to cope with the volume. Alex, I'm looking at Chainlink, but would like to buy the dip. Let's bring up Link. Personally, I don't own any Link yet. It's been one of those ones that has had a huge run, and I always hate to chase things. So this is on the Coinbase listing, but it went from 50 cents really quickly. Binance, give us a bit more history there. So yeah, from 50 cents to $5 really quickly, and that's when we expect the pullback. At the time, I think I said back to around here somewhere. So we're still not down to around that dollar mark where I'd get really interested in it. These things often have a fairly deep retrace, depending on what the rest of the market's doing. At the same time, if we don't get that retrace and they continue to have really good news, Microsoft using it and whatnot, then I would consider adding it. And it's pulled back to the daily moving averages. So if you've missed the boat, buying a little bit now, buying a little bit every week or month. If you're not a trader, dollar cost averaging tends to be your best option in those sort of scenarios. What's the indicator on the bottom of my chart? That's one that we've been experimenting with at the moment. It's not publicly available or anything. We're still just testing it at the moment. So it's momentum and uses a lot of my favorite tools and indicators all rolled into one. So if you want to know more about it, I have posted some more stuff in our members area in our Facebook community. Actually, news about Brexit. Yes, Bitcoin tends to always do fairly well with those political uncertainty, yellow vests and the Brexits and whatnot. People are always blaming the government, the banking system, and worried about the economy. Bitcoin was the reason that they got caught. That's a fantastic point. So if you don't know the story here, basically a company called Chainalysis, they offer professional services for tracking a number of blockchains, anything that's public just about, and collating all that data. They work with all the big exchanges. So there's a lot of dumb criminals out there that still don't realize that Bitcoin and all blockchains that are public ledgers, can be searched and start to match IP addresses. And I've done videos about how blockchain explorers work and how to maintain your privacy. But sometimes the crooks mustn't realize, and then they end up getting caught. How is OTC legal? Well, I mean, in Australia, anyone can sell you Bitcoin over the counter or peer-to-peer, but they've got to verify you. So make sure that you're not a criminal. That's basically how the rules work. So someone said, what's the go with synthetics? So this is one that I love. People say, oh, you shield this, but I did shield this when it was 3 or 4 cents after EdCon, and I did a video for our members saying that this is one of the 2 best projects at EdCon. This is in the DeFi space. I'm adding this one to my portfolio, and now it's up 1,500% because DeFi, is a hot space, and these guys are doing similar to Maker, where they allow you to mint your own different coins. They've got a range of synthetic assets. They're also coming out with things like synthetic Apple shares, leverage. They've got their synthetic gold and silver. All these different currencies that can be directly interchanged. So this is, if you watch the conversation I had with Sam I Am about XRP, and I said a lot of this stuff is already being done on Ethereum, where I can just swap, euros to Aussie dollars on a DEX, and we don't need a liquidity pool of a third token or cryptocurrency. So all this stuff is happening with projects like Synthetics and all the decentralized exchanges and the Ethereum protocol itself, Maker, DAI stablecoins. So Synthetics, I wouldn't go chasing it now, just like I spoke about before. If you love this project and you feel you've missed out, wait for it to pull back or buy a little bit each week, dollar cost average. But the time to be buying it was back here when we were talking about it and saying that this is another hidden gem that I believe is underrated. Don't chase it now. What Craig Wright's posted the past couple of days. I'm open-minded. I always say that to the BSV guys that tell me that Craig Satoshi, or say, okay, well, if he is, show me some hard evidence. And I just don't like it how they're always so cryptic, and they, if it's easy to prove it, but that hasn't happened yet. Thoughts on Zulekha? A high throughput blockchain, but it's one of many high throughput blockchains at the moment. Look at all the more centralized ones that are coming out and the proof of stake ones. They're going to have to get some good partnerships to stand out from all the other high throughput blockchains. More info on how to get your privacy back. That's probably a long episode, but you've got to go through all your old email addresses, delete all the online accounts you've ever created for anything, and delete the details. So a lot of people are just not aware of their digital fingerprint they have online. Monero has a halvening. Maybe I'm not aware of that one. I know the Bitcoin and the Litecoin date and the ETH ones. Qtum had a hard fork. I'm not sure. If you more info on that, Kev, post it in the description. Craig Wright Coin Geek interviews were interesting. I might check them out if everyone thinks they are interesting. Fish and chips for tea tonight, Scott. Nice. Yep. Cardano. I've done a detailed fundamental analysis on Cardano about a month or 2 ago. So one that I own a little bit of. This does fall into the category loosely of manipulation when a small group of people can move a $200 billion market 2%, and that's why the regulators are hesitant to approve a Bitcoin ETF, because if it's after hours and there's a Bitcoin ETF and then Bitcoin has these big moves, it's really just going to liquidate people and cause a lot of trouble for Wall Street, where everything's backed on fractional reserves and rehypothecation. So I think if you're a whale and you can keep whipsawing the market around and you actually don't want an ETF, then hey, maybe that's one of my theories, that the whales are actually doing that on purpose. At the moment, altcoins are falling more than Bitcoin, even though they had been a little bit stronger recently. Where can I find good Australian tax info? So if you just type in cryptocurrency tax Australia in YouTube, we've done a couple of interviews. There's a link in the description below to the company that we work with and we trust for all the tax info you need to know. REN, Republic Protocol. Yes, I've spoken about that a couple of times. So with my trading background, I do like the idea of dark pools and being able to trade big lots that firms are going to want to do anonymously. So a good example of that is today when we saw, let's bring it up, we saw that on the blockchain, there's a crypto fund. There's a crypto fund called A16Z, and they bought some synthetics today. Well, their address has been adding synthetics. So here we go. This is their address of the A16 fund. I'm not sure if they've bought their own name there on Ethereum name service, which is pretty cool. So you can see the name that's attached to their address. So we can see that they've got Maker. They've got 60,000 Maker, and there's only 1 million Maker tokens in existence. So they own 6% of all Maker, and that's something that I know, and it is public knowledge. So then yesterday, when we could see that they've added 370,000, which is around $250,000, $250,000 investment in synthetics, then I've got that information. We can say, hey, let's put on a trade or whatnot, and then sure enough, the public clue in on that a day or two later, and we have this big jump in price. So that's one of the beauties of the blockchain as well. So tying it all back, that's why something like Republic Protocol might work well. They can, obfuscate what they're doing, and they don't want to move the price when they're buying a small coin. Thoughts on XRP? Watch that long interview I did with Sam I Am. Singularity Net, and even Shivam has been a poor performer, but those ones that were really extreme, AI and genetics, their roadmap was always 2 years, 3 years. So you've got to be really patient. You can't expect those projects that were really pushing the boundary to do anything too early. But I mean, even Shivam have put out the first version of their platform, and they've got a few partnerships, and Singularity Net have been on Joe Rogan. So even those projects are heading in the right direction, which is all you can really ask for at the moment. Wall Street cheat sheet. I think I did a video about whether or not now is a good time to buy Bitcoin. I showed you that Wall Street cheat sheet, and I said within the big cycles, we have these mini cycles, and we've definitely had another mini cycle this year where we had a big run up, we sort of bounced along, and then we've had a bit more of a capitulation. So whether or not we have one more little dip or we start to just go sideways and then, carve our way higher, I don't think we're heading all the way back down here unless something really disastrous was to happen, like Donald Trump makes Bitcoin illegal. At the moment, there's so much, you see it in the news, like literally the statistics around Grayscale. They saw a record amount of investment from institutions and hedge funds into Bitcoin and Ethereum mainly, but into a range of large cap assets. So we know that the big money is flowing into this space. It would have to get really bad and unwind all the work we've done for the past couple of years for price to get down that low without value investors and wealthy individuals stepping in and buying more Bitcoin, in this region here. So that's kind of the way that I'm viewing it at the moment. But these Bitcoin markets aren't that liquid, so the price can overshoot to the upside and downside. I still own a little bit of Neo. A lot of these, I've done a rundown of what my portfolio and what I own for members and the percentages, and I own really tiny percentages of the majority of coins because they are so risky. They're startup projects, and we've had a few that have gone bad. So if you've only got 1% in an altcoin, it doesn't matter if it goes bad because you have the good ones like synthetics that have gone up 15-fold. So as long as unless you've had 15 losers, you're still in front. So that's the way I think about balancing my portfolio. All altcoins, you get rich quick scams. Look, I just don't agree with that at all. If you say that every single other coin, like including Ethereum and these large cap coins, are scams. You're basically saying that tens or thousands or hundreds of thousands of developers don't know what they're doing, and you've decided that you're smarter than them and everyone that's working on all these projects. So 99% of them are going to fail and are no good. There are lots of scams, but you can't say that all altcoins are scams. It's simply not true. Litecoin Cash, I think that was a fork that was it a scam, or it didn't seem very legit? Ripple had another partnership, or was it Bank of America announced that they're going to experiment with it today, and unfortunately gets smacked down. ETH in a few years' time, yeah, the decentralized finance space is exploding. Another little tweet I'll just show you quickly was LSDI. So get high on interest. Check out what they're doing. It's launching soon. But all this stuff with negative yields and derivatives that I talk about a lot, this is all coming to the Ethereum market. It's building a decentralized Wall Street with decentralized trading, lending. This is just so awesome to see. And RDI and what they're doing here, LSDI allows you to bet on what the future interest rates on DeFi are going to be. And RDI is one that lets you accrue interest, which I'm going to do some posts about in our group tomorrow, I think, to show people how to earn some more interest. 32 ETH required to stake. Yep, there will be pools. I think Rocket Pool is one of them. If you can't afford the 32 ETH, you'll be able to join a pool like you can with mining. But for Ethereum, it's all about if they can make the transition to ETH 2.0, smoothly. Crypterium, I haven't heard of that. What is it? Can you give me a rundown? Thoughts on Perth Mint token? Okay. So, obviously we've been fans of Ainsley Bullion, who have got a gold and silver token, and that's freely tradable. It's available on CoinSpot and hopefully more exchanges soon. The Perth Mint token is slightly different. So it's not backed by an ounce of gold per se. It's backed by, in their gold app, they've got like a certificate in their gold app, and then that is backed by an ounce of gold. So it's kind of like a two-step process. I'm not sure why they did that. It must be something to do with some of the legalities around it not being a security. But the more the merrier. The Perth Mint is backed by the Western Australian government. So I guess the headlines were saying it's the first government-backed gold token. Some people think that's good. Some people think that's bad. But look, the more gold tokens we have, if they're backed by real gold, that means more demand for gold, then I'm happy. 0x is another cool project that's sort of coming together now that the world of DeFi is coming together. Hashgraph, I did an interview with them the other day. Not the biggest fan of what they're doing, to be honest. I just feel like they're in the middle of Libra, EOS, Cardano, NEM. They're just competing. There's so many of these blockchains that have got a head start on them, and yeah, you're just another high throughput, semi-centralized blockchain that a lot of these are saying will get more centralized going forward and whatnot. But yeah, unless you have big corporate partnerships. Is Cobb married to fake Toshi? Yes, I did see that photo. Can Cardano make it into DeFi? Yeah, of course they can, but I think a lot of people forget that Ethereum has a couple of years head start. Short-term outlook on BNB. So they surprised us with pretty good earnings announcement. Again, this was one where we're talking about taking profits, and it really did go exponential. We did a fundamental analysis about this one when it was $4. Spoke about it a lot when they launched IEOs at $7 and said this is going to cause it to go up in price. And that has all played out. And the IEO phase has died down. And again, I said this is another bubble. I'm not touching these IEOs unless you want to get a quick flip. Anyway, that's all unwound now. So Binance has had a healthy pullback, but I don't think that they're dead. I think they know how to reinvent themselves. They've got a big war chest. So what have they done? They've introduced margin trading with high leverage. And more leverage means more fees and more profits. So I actually think that whether or not it's bottomed now or if it gets back down to 10, Let's have a look at the weekly. It's probably back to these well past the moving averages now. So yeah, I still own a bit of Binance token for the longer term. So for the short term, it's had its good run. It's probably at the mercy of the market at the moment. Stellar conference. I wasn't aware of the Stellar conference. I know that Ripple's got the Swell conference coming up, and that's probably been one of the reasons we've seen a pretty good run lately. Have you tried earning interest through stablecoins on Nexo? I did a video about all the different options for earning interest on DeFi a couple of weeks ago, if you want to check that out. Yeah, there's a couple I've had to play around with. There's an easy way to do it now with RDAI, which I'll do right up for members tomorrow. It makes it a lot easier to lend. I prefer the more decentralized ones to offset the risk. Radex, it's just another high throughput blockchain that falls into my category of, just another. A whale moved 10,000 Bitcoin to Binance today. Another sell-off coming. Maybe that's what we already saw. I'm not sure. ANUM news with Binance is pretty huge. ANUM, have I missed something? Is that an abbreviation that I should know? Do you have the Pi network mining app on your phone? No, so it's not Vertcoin. There's another one that claims to be mining on your phone, and these apps don't even mine on your phone. They've just got an app and it tells you it's mining on your phone. So it's a bit of fun if you want to earn a little bit like that. But yeah, I'm just so cautious about these things that promise to earn you crypto, and even if you're earning rewards in a token, well, what is that token worth? Can you sell it straight away? Even the power it's using, is that worth the amount of tokens you're getting? So this stuff's a bit of fun, and it's good to get people interested in how the blockchain works and whatnot. But I'm very cautious because there's a lot of scams out there, and I'm not saying that one's a scam. But for me personally, I'm just so much of my portfolio is sticking to the large cap coins because I think they're going to outperform the small cap coins, and they're far safer. So many people have found out that having these tiny coins in your portfolio is very, very risky. And the other thing is security. You don't know what details they're taking off your phone. If it's searching your phone for other crypto apps and trying to steal your private keys, it's just not worth the risk in my mind. Aussie company Kinesis, crypto backed with no storage fees. I mean, I'm a little skeptical as well. I mean, how can you store gold and have no fees? I think it had an affiliate program and was guaranteeing to earn rewards when people spend it. So all that stuff to me is just such a big red flag. When companies are cutting corners and whatnot, just don't touch it. Why risk it when there's other projects out there that you know are being audited and more transparent and trusted? How does Travel by Bit work again? So you can pay. Travel by Bit allows the merchant to accept crypto directly. That actually gets converted to Aussie dollars on the back end, but soon I believe they're going to allow merchants to store Bitcoin, and we saw that news in the US. Was it a few of the charity companies that have agreed to actually hold Bitcoin and crypto after accepting donations? So that's, Travel by Bit. If you're right into crypto and you own a business, get in touch with them and they can help you install that app on an iPad or a phone, so you don't need any new point of sale hardware, and you can start paying with crypto. If you want to book your holiday with Travel by Bit, they've got a rewards program at the moment. You get a bit of Bitcoin back. ETH to flip Bitcoin if the DeFi movement gains traction. Geez, the flippening, I'm not sure about that. Let's just try and get to new all-time highs first. ETH, Land and Salt. I think they've got their work cut out for them because of all these decentralized projects or projects that kind of, they've almost surpassed them, I guess is the way I think about it. They missed their opportunity, but maybe not. Maybe the licenses and all that stuff becomes really important in the lending space. So yeah, hedge your bets. Yeah, I'm happy with the indicator. there's a few different ones going around at the moment. Someone was telling me that there's some free ones out there now that are pretty good as well, and some people don't know if they're being plagiarized and if that's even legal to copy other people's indicators. I'm not sure. We're going to keep tinkering with ours because it seems to work fairly well. Outback metal detector. So I'm not sure if you guys can see that or not. That's probably way out of focus. But that's a nugget of gold. And yeah, I do have some family members that go prospecting for gold. So I'm not sure how much that's worth, maybe $100. But yes, I do like gold. And you can find it in the outback in Australia with a metal detector if you go to the old mines or you go to beaches. You can still find gold. You're doing Cobb's course in Perth this weekend. Cool. We've got it. If anyone's interested in that, I thought Cobb was in London. Is he back this weekend? He gets around, doesn't he? I'm sure he's going to have some good stories to tell after that photo. Has CBA been confirmed testing Ripple? I'm not sure about that. Long term, which of those do I hold? Sorry, Kate, I've got to keep some things secret for our members. So if you want to join our members area, you can see my portfolio and what percentages I have. Can Trump ban Bitcoin? Trump can ban Bitcoin, but it can only push Bitcoin progress back a couple of years. It can't stop Bitcoin progress because it's going to get adopted in other countries that have poor monetary policy. It just can't be stopped unless governments and central banks start being more fiscally responsible themselves, or they went back to a gold standard and there's less need for Bitcoin. But do you see that happening? Do you see them going back to a gold standard and then banning Bitcoin? They're going to do everything they can to fight. Here we go. Here is the new low. Okay. Kinesis has a sharp talking salesman and affiliate program. Yep, you can almost guarantee that that's a pyramid scheme. And a lot of the time, the guys promoting it don't know it's a pyramid scheme. They get guys that aren't really that financially savvy. They pick on those sort of guys. Alrighty then, I'm logged in on my other account here, and I'm gonna try and put on a bit of a trade here. I'd love for Bitcoin to have one more leg lower. Okay, here we go. In this sort of situation, I'm gonna be placing a market order. Alrighty, let's see if we can get a bit of a bounce. So we've tapped the 7,800, and that's the first region where I think we're going to have a few other people waiting. So let's see how big this candle wick is. Looking okay so far. I would have liked it to be a bit bigger of a dump. I'd like to get a bit more of a leg lower. But it depends how many people have got the same plan as me. We might not get that. But at that stage, oversold on the 15 minute with a little bit of divergence there on the 15 minute. The hourly's tipping into oversold, the 4 hours tipping into oversold, but the daily's not oversold yet. So, in the bigger picture, I think this entry here is the one that everyone wants for a bounce. We don't want a slow bleed lower like we've been having here. These slow bleeds and then roll over again. That is not what the bulls want to see. Okay, you guys trading as well? Are you trying to buy a Friday night dip? Smash the like button if you're enjoying this, guys. I do love these videos, and to look back on them, like I really enjoy. Go back and watch the live China video from when they banned Bitcoin, and we picked the bottom to within like $1 when it touched 3,000. That really was awesome. And you look back on those, it brings you down to earth. It grounds you at the times when everyone's euphoric. You've got to remember how good it gets and how bad it gets. when you're thinking you're going to get rich in the bull market, go back and watch the videos of how depressed and how scared everyone was when things were crashing, and that's what I sometimes like to do. The Aussie dollar might have bottomed. Yeah, longer term, I think that Australia's actually got a lot of resources and a lot of land to expand into. The government doesn't have a lot of debt, so we've got a lot in our favour in Australia, even though short term we've become too reliant on a few sectors. You got gold on your desk as well, Fox? Awesome. Google's quantum computer? No, I don't see that as a threat to Bitcoin. Bitcoin can upgrade to a quantum-proof algorithm if they really need to. And if there's quantum computers, they're going to go after a lot of other valuable data before they go after Bitcoin addresses. More appealing. So if China and Russia and Trump all ban Bitcoin, maybe it becomes more appealing to China and Russia if Trump banned Bitcoin. Good point. The other thing that can happen is that just like, some drugs, medications, a lot of things that get made illegal get a price premium put on them. So the kimchi premium, we saw how much people were paying for crypto in Korea when it was really hard to get. So it creates that black market. Catch the knife in whale wars. Yeah, you've got to get good at catching knives if you want to be a margin trader. I don't think this is the bottom yet. That bounce isn't very convincing. If you really want to, you can zoom into the 1 minute time frame on these sort of dumps. But again, even that doesn't give you a lot of clarity because you've got a big wick up and down there. So I think if I've got premium, I think if you go like the next level up again, you can go down to even seconds. So you can actually sort of see the individual orders 1 second at a time to see if this was, a big sell order followed by a small buy order and, break that candle down into small intervals. Even again, for those of you that are scalpers and love sitting at the screen all day. But I don't think the bulls are in a rush like we spoke about before. So no V-shaped recovery and blast off that would be a sign of, hey, that is definitely the bottom. The whole correction's over. Everything we're talking about is sort of shorter term time frame for a bounce, unless we see that aggressive takeoff. What was your favorite trade of all time? Oh gosh. Back in December when we had that bull market, I definitely got overconfident like a lot of people and thought I was the greatest trader ever. And because it was easy to trade, we went for a period of a few months and had one losing trade and then got cocky and overconfident and had, 2 or 3 big losers and you give a lot of it back. So there's some good trades when we had those big corrections and crashes. You were able to catch the knife, get in at the bottom on big leverage trades, and you knew that if Bitcoin bottomed, then IOTA was going to bounce just as hard or twice as hard. So being able to use those percentages that you knew were coming, as well as leverage, there was really nothing like it back in the glory days of that bull market. And it's all about just practicing. And even this year when we had the huge run up, that was a phenomenal period to be margin trading. And then you don't get those periods. Sometimes they come along once a year. So you got to make the most of it. Hone your skills. We've just partnered with eToro and they've got a practice account for you guys. I think there's a link down below. I'm not sure. I'll put more information about that out in Sunday's video. But getting a practice account and being able to just practice shorting and practice using leverage, that stuff's really, really important. Okay, we've been going for an hour already. Surely not. 45 minutes. Well, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Unless you've got some burning questions, I'm I've got the big news weekly wrap up. I know you guys do enjoy that one. On Sunday, it's my favorite episode, going through all the news and tying it all together. Is Zcash dead? I don't think so. Privacy coins, they've got big communities. Those top, privacy coins in the top 10 or 20 have got big communities. But I think Zcash are actually working with Ethereum to integrate some sort of privacy. Ethereum, it's not convincing, nothing convincing telling me that the bottom's in just yet, unless we carve our way higher on higher volume. All right, so I will wrap it up there, guys. I would love another leg lower, and then I'd be scouting for a bounce and a bit of a trade in my trading competition. I'll do more regular updates in the group. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Everyone else, I will talk to you on Sunday. So thanks for joining us. See you again soon.